Hello, my name's Ed Montigny, and this is my furry companion, Marla. Now, I work in estates and trusts and preparation of wills, so there doesn't seem to be much place in that sort of practice for my furry companion. However, we all have, at least those of us who have furry companions, have concerns about what's going to happen when we're no longer able to look after our pets, either because we have died or we have to go into a care facility and someone has to take over the care of our animals. And we can assume that friends and family will simply step in and adopt our pets, but that's not always the case. And many people are more concerned that their pets have special needs. Those of us who are elderly often also have rather elderly pets who we have tended to take care of in very particular ways, and we would like that to continue for the well-being of our pets. And so we would like to have a bit of control over what happens to our pets when we're no longer able to take care of them, and determine who is going to make sure that they're cared for in the manner that they were accustomed to, however spoiled they may have been. Now, if you are interested in formalizing arrangements for your pet, it is possible that you can put instructions in your will. You can bequeath your pet to a family member or friend. Whether we agree with it or not, legally they can be considered property, and so it is proper for your will to indicate your instructions as far as what should happen with this particularly precious property. The other issue is that there may be rare circumstances where more than one person is interested in your pet, and so giving instructions in your will makes it clear what your wishes are, hopefully to reduce any sort of disputes among your relatives. Of course, the usual issue is not that everyone wants your pet, but that it's more difficult to find anyone, in which case you also might want to think about if someone is willing to take your pet and you're convinced that they can provide the kind of care that you want your pet to receive. You may also then not only want to name them as the future guardian of your pet, but you may also want to leave something in your will to allow them to cover the costs of caring for your pet for however many years your pet may survive after you have had to move on, either to the nursing home or otherwise. You don't want to leave your pet to someone who is going to care for them only if they receive some money in your will, but for those who would take your pet no matter what, but who may find the extra costs a bit of a burden, it's certainly a way to help them out, to make sure that they're better able to care for your pet. Now, figuring out exactly what an amount appropriate would be is a difficult thing. Depends on the age of your pet, depends on whether your pet has any special medical needs that would increase expenses, and of course it depends on how long you can predict that your pet might survive. But all of those are sometimes fairly difficult to determine and predict factors. So no matter what you actually leave to someone in the will, it can simply be a gesture towards helping them out and showing some sort of appreciation, but you're never going to be able to probably predict exactly what the person needs. Of course, if your pet is very elderly and is not expected to live terribly long, you may end up giving the person a very generous reward for what may be a very short period of caregiving. But there are other ways that you can be much more precise. Rather than simply leaving a bequest to someone on the understanding that they will be adopting and caring for your pet, you can create a trust. You can name a trustee and put a reasonable amount of money in the trust, and then instruct the trustee to pay to whoever takes your pet. Give them either a monthly allowance to cover the regular costs of caring for a pet, plus having something in the trust to deal with any emergency or special medical expenses. And of course, you can decide if the trust funds last longer than the pet? Does the caregiver get the remaining funds, or do the remaining funds go back into the residue of your estate? But this trust, as long as you have a trustee willing to perform the function for what could be 3, 4, 6 years, would work to give the person willing to care for your pet a clear source of revenue to cover the costs, as well as dealing with those surprise costs, and some vet bills could be terribly expensive. So you also give that person some relief, knowing that if they take your pet, that down the road in 3 or 4 years they're not going to end up with thousands of dollars of medical expenses that they can't cover. The trust would be able to pay those bills for them. Now, if there's no one that you can actually think of in your circle of friends and family who is either willing to care for your pet, or who you feel would be able to give your pet the level of care that you wish, there are other options. Particularly in Toronto and Ontario, there are a number of agencies that rescue cats, that help people adopt pets, and well, some of them, but not all of them, might be able to work with you in advance to figure out what your pet needs are, and to step in and take over care of your pet when the time arrives. So this is another option. If you don't have friends or family, think about contacting various agencies. Of course, most of them are private and take contributions, so also as a sign of appreciation, if they've agreed to find a good home for your pet, and maybe they can even do that, some planning in advance with you while you're still able to help in that process. And then if in your will or before you make a donation to them, that would simply not only show appreciation, but allow them to continue to provide these services for others. Of course, the best thing is someone you trust. No matter who you pick, obviously it's a very important obligation to care for a pet, particularly if the pet is elderly and has special medical needs. So you want to make sure that the person that has your pet after you is someone that you trust to take care of them in the manner close to what you would have provided for them yourself. So there are no absolute certainties, but there are certainly many things that you can do to make sure that your furry companion receives the care they need after you're no longer able to provide that care for them. And for most of us, our pets are very important. They are family members, and so it may be worth putting some effort into your planning and to your state, and at least give some consideration when making these plans to what happens to the furry ones. Just as much as you would worry about what happens to to your home or any of your other assets. You want to make sure that they are protected and go to a person who will take care of them. Thank you.